Well, this is not a fencing stick. They're easily rocked, cut. How about that? Hey, welcome to the kitchen. This is a Cooking 101 series and I'm Jessica Nicole. So let's talk about the first thing you might need to know in the kitchen is how the fuck to use a knife. So I've got this knife block here and maybe you received one as a gift for your wedding, or you treated yourself, or you didn't know how to return it and someone gave it to you as a housewarming present and you're like, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do I do with all these knives? All right, so the first knife that we want to talk about is a chef's knife. So I've got, bam, one there and one here. So a chef knife, you know, we've got a nice long blade. These knives are by Shun. They're a Japanese blade, really sharp. And I've got a nice weighted handle. And this is I'm gonna use for the most of chopping, dicing, prepping vegetables, prepping proteins. Really, I get a ton of use out of this knife. And for either one of these, it's really just a preference. You kind of have to hold them in your hand. This is the rocking motion. Hold them in your hand, not doing this. And see which one you like the feel of better, right? So we'll talk about knife skills in another video. You're like, okay, I've got a chef knife. What else do I have in here? Well, maybe you have one of these, which is a serrated blade. Serrated means there's these little tooths or these little grooves in the blade. This cannot be honed or sharpened at home, just FYI. So what could you cut with this? Well, this one's pretty big. So I would cut slicing bread. It's really about all I would do. I guess maybe if I was cutting a watermelon or something big like a cantaloupe, or even a squash, and I needed to be able to kind of get my knife in there, you might have a little bit more traction with this knife. All right, moving right along. Then maybe you find yourself having this knife. Well, this is like a boning knife. So you imagine what has bones in it, not veggies, but protein, so chicken, things like that that have bones, and you're able to cut the flesh, gross word, away from the bone with this. It's super sharp. It's really easy to, like if you were deboning a chicken or cutting the backbone out of a chicken breast, this would be the knife to use for that. All right, then maybe you found yourself using all of these little tiny knives. So I think a reason why I wanted to do this video is I found my dad, who is a pretty affable home chef, only cuts using this knife. So this knife, same thing. So this knife is a paring knife. So you can imagine cutting things that are smaller. It's great for peeling apples or cutting, mincing garlic, cutting smaller things, smaller veggies, things like that that you don't need a big long blade for. Pull out this guy. He gets a lot of good use. And I just kind of throw this guy in the drawer. What else do we have? Oh, well, no. Oh, this guy. All right, so this is like maybe a baby version of a chef's knife. It's called a utility knife, which means that you can really use it for anything. These could be good replacements for chef knives if you're not comfortable working in the kitchen with knives, or you have small hands, or maybe you're just starting out in the kitchen. This is a really good one to get comfortable with. It's an easier weight, it's not as heavy, the blade's smaller, so it's easier to manipulate. This is a pretty good one. So you could get a lot of use out of this guy. All right, so what else might you have in your knife drawer? All right, so this is a favorite. This is a vegetable knife. So you notice I love in Indiana, Midwest grown, and we have Indiana summer tomatoes, and it's the only time tomatoes are really good around here. But you don't want to smash down a tomato with a chef's knife, right, and bruise it, and then you just have like tomato soup. So this is a really great one, as you can imagine, kind of slicing the flesh of the tomato. It's also really good for peeling away citrus, or if you start to get really fancy, you want to make like little flowers out of your vegetables for presentation. This is a good one for that, and what I love about that is it has a little fork on the end so you can pick up your tomato slices or carrots or whatever you're working with. So this is a pretty good guy for that one. Let's see, what else might you have? Ooh, a good pair of heavy duty kitchen scissors. So I love this. I don't usually break out my boning knife when I'm deboning chicken, but I often will take this and just snip that bad boy right down the center. So being able, it's pretty good. It can crush through bones and things like that. So I use it a lot. Definitely can throw this in the, don't tell anybody, I throw it in the dishwasher. So the other thing that you should think of is you should probably hand wash all of your knives. If you're lucky enough to get one of these nice sets of knives in this little block, or you have a knife that maybe you invested some money into, never throw it in the dishwasher. It will dull the shit out of your blade. What else do we need to know? Oh, what is this? Well, this is not a fencing stick. But this is a way to hone the blade. So you can imagine there are little tiny micro teeth on this knife that tend to get dull. So you may want to sharpen your knives a couple times a year, but you want to hone them after every use or so, or even in between uses, or if you're doing a big job. So there's little tiny grippy teeth along the blade on either side of this knife that you want to be able to open back up, and that's going to give you that really sharp slicing rather than a dull knife. So you really don't want to cook or cut things with a dull knife. You can tend to be more injured that way. I know people are like, I'm afraid of knives, I only use dull ones. But you're having to really press on whatever it is that you're cutting if you have a dull knife. So you really want to keep your knives sharp and just keep your fingers out of the way. So these are about all the knives that you need. If you're looking to just invest in one knife, I would really get a good quality chef's knife that you feel comfortable with, that feels good in your hand, that feels that you could get a lot of use out of. This is really one that you're gonna put some money in. And you know, I really find myself using ceramic knives all the time. So they're less expensive, and actually I just learned that you can send them out and they will sharpen the blade, because these little guys get chipped and then they're a no-go. So I used to just throw them away, but that's not a good idea. All right, so you can send them away. These are from Kaysera. Anyway, I'll put all the links in. So finding a knife or two that you're comfortable with, and really just getting familiar with that knife. Using it often. We'll have a whole nother video on knife skills, how to hold your knife, how to make certain cuts. But this is a good introduction to what the fuck do you do with all those knives?